Hi everybody, my name is Kaylee Kelly and I am here to do a 30-minute yoga video with you. So we're going to start seated. Also, I am wearing shoes because I'm out in the desert and I'm terrified of stepping on cactus spines. I don't usually recommend that. I recommend that you do this barefoot. But we're going to start in a seated position, and as we move into our yoga practice, think about an intention you want to set for this practice. Something that you can bring your mind back to that's going to serve you and benefit you. Maybe something one word like peace, or it can be something more in depth, a personal goal for you. So we're going to start first becoming aware of our seat, making sure that you're not tipping back into those seat bones or leaning forward too far. But you want to feel your weight balanced through your seat. And tune in and see if you're comfortable. You might want to double your mat up or put a blanket underneath you. A folded up blanket can also add a little lift, and sometimes that's just what we need. Sometimes a little bit of a lift to the back of the sits bones really gets me into a better alignment with my spine, and you can definitely feel the difference when that's the case. So maybe just take a few minutes here to experiment with getting comfy. Your legs don't have to be crossed either. You can have them here, or if all of this is uncomfortable for you, you could even have them out straight or more relaxed like this. So just find what works for you. Find that balance and center. And now kind of move up your body and start to notice your abs and your lower and mid back. Are you arching? Are you rolling in? We want to have a straight back with our shoulders up and down. So I usually find that sweet spot by rolling my shoulders up towards my ears and then back. There's a bee harassing me. And then start to check in with how this alignment affects your breathing. So we should be breathing in deeply through our noses, exhaling through our mouth, or that's what I prefer to do. And as you exhale, really feel it in the back of your throat. Get all of your breath out, and your stomach should be expanding with every breath. Not caving in, but definitely filling outward with air. And notice your neck. If you are clenching, or maybe if you just preemptively know you have some neck, shoulder discomfort, maybe take a quick second to give yourself a little shoulder rub, getting your neck, your temples. But again, in concert with that shoulder awareness, draw your head up like you have like a string, like you're like a marionette. Someone's pulling you up, and I like to almost, you can even go like this if you want to. Think about tilting your chin down a little bit, and there's space here, almost like you could hold like an orange or an apple. So this should be kind of a neutral neck. It should feel relaxed. You shouldn't feel like you're having to hold anything. Deep breaths here. And now just notice your body, if there's any place you're holding tension, tightness, especially in the face. And you might actually go like this and kind of massage this area right under your zygomatic bone and next to your ear. There's a lot of muscles here that we use every day for facial expressions, for talking, and we tend to clench, and even down into this mastoid. You can hold a lot of tension here that affects your whole face. So maybe give it a quick massage and notice if you're holding tension in your forehead or between your eyebrows and your eyes, and try to just relax that all. Even let your tongue fall down, because oftentimes we press it to the roof of our mouths. A few breaths here, and then we're going to add some movement. So we're just going to start with a little side to side motion, dropping one hand, then the other. So you can start gentle like this, moving with your inhales and exhales. And then if you like, a bigger motion. So bring that arm over, get a side stretch, and bring your hand further out or maybe down to the ground if that's comfortable. And when you're doing this, to really deepen your side stretch, think about pushing up and over and out through this rib cage. And you should feel a deep stretch that might come not only through your obliques here, but at an angle down here, almost to your hip flexor. So maybe a few more turns here. And then we're going to come back to our central seated position and do a little twist. Also, you might see hikers or bicyclists on the trail today, just FYI. So right hand to left knee, turn, and if you like, you can bring this left hand behind you and set it on the ground kind of behind your sacrum and look over that shoulder. And as you're doing this, you can use your exhale to get deeper into the twist. So breathe in through your nose, and as you exhale, turn a little bit more. And now we'll transition to the other side. Left hand, right knee, this arm behind you. Excellent. Back to the middle. And now we're going to transition to our hands and knees for cat-cow. We are going to do some standing work. We're going to do standing work after this and then come back down to the mat. But I always like to start with a little cat-cow. So again, alignment and form is everything. So try to get your hands under your shoulders, your knees under your hips. I might be a little wonky because I'm definitely on rocks. All right, and then take a moment first to just check in with your whole body. Again, be aware if you're holding tension. It's okay, it might be unavoidable, but just if you can try to relax those areas. So then in our shoulders, we don't want to be leaning forward or dumping down into our arms or legs or both, but push out, almost as if you're trying to make kind of a bit of a rounded shape with your shoulder blades. So almost as if you're creating a space between your shoulder blades. And that is actually engaging these muscles. So then check in with your abdominals. Again, notice what you're doing here. We're going to add some movement, but first I want to make sure our tabletop is really strong. So engage those abs, and when you do that, you might feel a little tilt in your pelvis. It should just pull everything up like that. So maybe experiment with that. And when you have good position and good alignment in tabletop, your body will feel like it's working. It's kind of an amazing pose. And then, neutral, relaxed neck, gazing down between or a little in front of between your fingers. So hold this position for a second. Pressing down through your legs to the tops of your feet. And now on our inhale, bring the top of your head to the ceiling or the sky in this case. Rock that tailbone up, and then exhale, moving through your spine and abs. That's where the movement is coming from. Drop your head down and tuck that pelvis in. Push out through your shoulder blades. You should feel a nice stretch between them and in that upper back. So move with your breath. Inhaling up, and if you want to add a little rock or some motion, that's totally up to you. And then exhaling into our cat. And your abdominals are still working in these poses. That's where this movement is coming from. So let's do one more. And then in our cat, we are going to move back, tuck your toes, and if you'd like to take a second to sit back actually on your toes and get a stretch through the top of your thighs and your feet, that's nice too. Or you can head straight up to a downward dog. So from here, we're going to kind of walk it out, bringing those heels close to the earth, if not all the way down. Getting a calf stretch. Might even feel good on your feet. And then take another moment here, check in, revisit your intention, make sure that you're moving with your breath and that you're practicing awareness of that. So don't be dumping forward into your arms, but really push. Resistance, pushing out with your arms. All right, we're gonna raise our right leg up. And if you'd like to keep it straight up, that's good. You could bend it to get a stretch through your hip flexors. And we're going to bring it through and set it down right behind our arms. So if you can, maybe you bring your knee behind your wrist. If this angle is too much for you, you can play around with bringing your foot in closer. Or if everything is too tight, like for instance, if your hip flexors are really tight or this hurts your lower back or is uncomfortable for you, while we're doing this, you could practice both of these things or maybe transitioning through them, this or wherever this needs to be, and stretching forward to still get inner thigh stretch and a thigh stretch. And you could also bring it out to a side forward fold and a center forward fold. So, but if you'd like to be here in our pigeon, so we can start here. You could be here, or if you like and you're not outdoors, you could bring your hands forward, bring your head all the way down. I like to kind of make a triangle and place my forehead in that. So take about 4 breaths here at your own pace. Rise up. Now you could stay here. If you want to go deeper into this stretch, some options are bringing your leg up. You can reach back and hold it or hook it in your arm. Bring this arm forward, and if you do this, think about squaring your body. So pull that arm back in your socket and maybe rotate a bit, because you might find that you want to turn like this. We want to keep facing forward. And if you'd like to go deeper, you can always do a little of this, or even if you want to grab your toes and bring it back like this. So wherever you want to be, we will take 2 more breaths here. And then bring this leg down. And now we're going to roll back, bring this leg around into cow face pose. I'm going to turn so you guys can see me. You can have your legs stacked directly on top of each other. If you need to make a looser shape, that's fine as well. So here for your arms, you can do prayer pose. You could even do open and a mudra. You can do a bound, so hands clasped together in between your shoulder blades behind your back. Another fun one is the wrap. So if you're doing the bound or this wrap, just remember which arms you used, because we will reverse them on the other side. And if you have your arms bound like this, just think about pressing the oppositional force of pressing your arms and your palms together, and also keeping those elbows pushing up, because you'll kind of want to curl in, and we want to have a nice straight spine. And you can also do the prayer hands behind your back. That's an option as well. So wherever you are, a few more breaths. And sometimes, especially if I'm here, on my last breath, I actually do like to keep my elbows up, but bend forward. And that gets a nice stretch kind of through the back of your glute, and it feels like into your hip socket in a good way. Raise up. Now we're going to unwind or transition however you like. So I just kind of usually unwind around like this, and then press into the earth. Bring that foot back up into downward dog. All right, pedal it out a bit, and now we're gonna do the other side. So left leg up, a little stretch there if you like. Bring it through with control. You might have to walk your hands forward. So probably taking whatever position you took last time, although oftentimes we have asymmetry in our bodies. We're more flexible on one side than the other, and that's okay. So we'll be here for a bit. Our knees down. Try not to roll that leg out to the side, but your knees should be facing down. You might need to fold your mat and put some padding under your knee here. Obviously, if anything is painful, it shouldn't be painful. So ease out of it if that's the case. So you can take any of the variations I mentioned last time, and we will come down here for 5 breaths. And revisit your intention while you're here. Great. Now we will rise up, and then your choice of these modifications for your pigeon. So here, or perhaps here. I'm not so good at this one. This is king or emperor pigeon, I believe. My hair is in the way. This one is super fun. Wherever you are, just kind of checking in with your form. And you might need to look about a little bit more than we would in our classes at the CRW where we have those great mirrors. All right, we'll bring it down and come into our cow face. So, however this pose looks for you. So if you did one of, I'll show you the binds now that I'm at this side. So that's one, and then this is the prayer hands. Or of course you can do this, just remember to do it opposite from what you did last time. So we'll take a few breaths here. And if you'd like to take that deep stretch, forward fold, and do so now. Excellent, so now we're going to unwind. Come back into our downward dog. And here we are going to go through a little vinyasa downward upward dog sequence. You don't have to take upward dog. So when we do this, you can, instead of flowing through into upward dog, you can come down and you can be at Sphinx, which also strengthens your back. This is definitely a strength pose. You can be Cobra. So with Sphinx, you want your elbows down, kind of tucked into your rib cage, right below your shoulders, more or less. Fingers spread, because you're pushing through that whole lower arm and hand. Cobra, you bring your hands in kind of the same place, close to your rib cage, and you push up. Or your hands the same place your elbows were before. So, downward dog, our options are to come down to one of those, or we will roll out to plank. And take a minute here in your plank to check in, make sure you're not sagging down or popping it up too far. If this is a little bit not your speed today, you can bring your knees down and be here. And again, that feeling like what we had in our tabletop of engagement in the abs and pushing out through those shoulders. So if you'd like to do the upward dog variation, we're gonna come, I push forward a little bit, bring it down, and then up, and then back up to downward dog. Walk it out, and we will do this one more time, whichever variation you prefer, and then we're gonna meet back in child's pose. So you can roll it out. Awesome. And here you can be in child's pose with your arms stretching out if you would like a side body stretch, kind of through your obliques, ribs, even into your armpit. Or they can be back here. This is very relaxing. If you want to keep an upper body mid-back stretch going, come up into puppy pose. And you can be here or here to also get a stretch through the back of your upper arms. So here we're going to take some deep breaths and again check in, remind ourselves of that intention, check in for any tension you're holding or stress you're feeling, and see if you can let that go while we do the rest of our practice. And part of that might be just acknowledging it. We don't have to totally empty our minds to do yoga practice, and sometimes being stressed in yoga is part of yoga, that's part of life, so it's perfectly okay. But if you can at least release some of the tension in your body, your practice will definitely benefit. So wherever you are, we're going to sit back on our heels and roll up to seated really slowly. So here we have a few options. You can be back here in this seat like this, and you can take a minute here to kind of check in with your position and alignment, or come onto the balls of your feet and sit back. And that can get a bit of a foot stretch, and you might even feel it in your calves, so you could also experiment with where you want to be. I'm going to remove a rock. So here we're going to focus on our breathing really fast. And maybe take a minute to put one hand on your belly to feel your breath, and one hand on your chest to feel your heart. And feel your rib cage and your stomach expanding as you breathe. Excellent. Now if you want to do something fun, some people I think are deterred from this because it looks a little silly, but we're at home. You're at home, I'm outside, but so breathe in deeply. This is lion's breath. When you exhale, put your tongue out and exhale, and you should feel that warm breath on your tongue and then the cool air of the room, or if you're outside like me, maybe a cool breeze. It's strangely relaxing. Okay. One more. All right, let's rotate those wrists. Excellent. Excellent. So we're going to come up to our seat and roll down to your backs. Okay. So we're going to start out with just a little, I want to get a little heat in our abdominals. So what I like to do for this is take this reclining bound angle, some people call it butterfly. So first, maybe I like to do a little abdominal massage here. Okay, then check in with your arms and shoulders. You can still, even on your back, draw them up and down. But make sure that that alignment is good. Check in with your neck and make sure that your head is in a comfortable position. So not crunched too down or too up, but kind of this occipital area of your skull. Just kind of setting that down. So it should feel neutral. You shouldn't feel clenching in your neck. And if you need to take a moment again to do a little self-massage, do that. Okay, now from here, you could just stay here and have a little, if you want more of a relaxing practice, little self-massage, maybe even massage your hips. Or if you'd like, you can bring those hands out in front and do a little fluttering here. So really engaging those abs and pulsing. And the pulse is coming from your abdominals, not from your shoulders or your arms. So it's a little motion that is very effective. Bring it down. So when you're pulsing, see if you can kind of get that motion a little higher this next round, and move with your breath. So these kind of staccato breaths here. So let's do 15 more pulses. Really feeling in the lower abs. Awesome. Okay, draw those legs together. Wonderful. So from here, we're going to take some side twists. So bring your right leg out flat. Bring your right hand to your left knee and just pull it over. Awesome. So here you can have your arm straight out, or you can bend it into kind of a T shape. And if you like, drop your head to the opposite side. So moving with our breath. Come back to the center. And just think about marrying every movement to a breath, inhale or exhale. So now we're gonna bring this left leg out. Left arm to right leg. Drop it over. Deep breaths here. Amazing. Back through the center. Now bring these legs up to meet, and we're going to do some bridge poses with the option of a full wheel if you prefer that today. So again, checking with our foundation, that awareness of our shoulders, pressing your arms back into the floor, engaging those abs. You might need to rock your pelvis up a bit. So usually, just like when we were in our tabletop, kind of engaging those abs and drawing them down will do it for you. So rocking your pelvis up so that your lower back is touching the floor and not arching off of it. Pressing through your whole arm, your whole hand, pressing through the whole part of your feet, not just the ball or not just the heel, but evenly. We're gonna roll up. And again, you're not so much just pushing up with your legs. This is a movement that's coming from and aided by your abdominal muscles. So when you're up here, make sure that you're not spreading your legs out, but think about keeping your knees moving in, because it might feel like you're gonna do something super weird, but you're not gonna pull them all the way in. That's a little uncomfortable and hard to maintain. So just keep them cranking in, and it's probably not too far in. And when you want to come down, slowly roll down. If possible, your tailbone should be the last thing down. All right, so you can cycle through that a few times with your breath. You can always hold it if you like, and some people like to bring one leg up, or you could even cross it over your knee and then push up. Just make sure whatever you do to one side, do to the other. And if you'd like to take the wheel variation, first everyone should check in. Make sure you're not pushing your weight back into your neck and shoulders, but forward into your feet. And if you would like to take wheel, take this hand back and plant it next to your ear. So palm next to your ear, fingers pointing towards your toes. Then you might need to adjust your stance and your weight distribution. And when you're ready, inhale. Well, I like to inhale. And then I like to exhale into standing, and I usually have to adjust a bit here. And then you can move, if you like, drop your neck. Some people bring one leg up. I do not do that as yet in my practice. You might bring it down a bit. And when you're ready, slowly roll it down, starting with your head. All right, so we will meet back here. Draw those legs in. And if you'd like to rock back and forth, if you don't have a rock under your mat, it makes it easier. But you could always come into a boat pose here and hold this for a minute if you're interested in getting a little more of an ab workout today. You could keep rocking through this motion. You could even rock through and come back into a plow. Maybe get an ear opener. Or play around with a little shoulder stand. Just have a little bit of fun here. Maybe just rocking back and forth. And when you're making that rocking motion, I often like to do it a bit on the side and kind of get a glute massage. And then rocking backwards to forwards like that is a great little back massage. Awesome. So we're gonna follow our breaths. Let's do 4 more breaths, taking whatever variation you like today. I think I might actually come here into our boat pose. If you are in boat pose, think about pushing the chest up, shoulders back. Excellent. Now we're going to bring it down to the ground. Wherever you are, stretch out flat. And maybe really stretch up, stretch out through your legs. And then relax it. Awesome. Take a few breaths here. And again, check in with your breath. Think about that intention you set at the beginning of class. Take a moment of stillness here. See if you can increase the length of your inhales and exhales as we move into a time of relaxation. Let the weight of your body really sink into the floor, the back of your head, your arms, your legs, totally relax. You could always stay here longer if you like. Otherwise, we're going to slowly roll onto our side into kind of a fetal position. And slowly bring yourself up to seat. Awesome. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you're all doing well and that you have a great rest of your day, rest of your week. I wish I could see you all in person, but this is pretty cool too. So I hope that you found this relaxing and stretched it out a bit and explore some of our other great videos that we have from our Group X instructors. Thank you so much for joining me. Namaste.